So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to start, scale, and operate a digital marketing agency in 2024. This is going to be an all-inclusive tutorial showing you 6 different steps of this process of growing an agency, getting off the ground, getting your first client, and everything else that you need to know about digital marketing agencies. All right, so there's a lot we can discuss in this video. A couple of things that we need to get out of the way immediately is, first of all, I don't have a course to sell you, so you don't have to worry about this being like some massive sales pitch to get you into some program. This is all free information, and you can use this information to scale your own agency. I'm a true believer in free info. There's so much of it out there, and I really hope that in this video, you can get just a couple of gold nuggets, maybe just something I might say at minute 32 that I'm going to say that you're going to say, wow, this is incredible. I'm going to take this info. It's going to make me thousands of dollars. That's my goal here with this video here today. Okay. So let's talk about the 6 different sections that we're getting into in this video, and feel free to take out a pen, take out a piece of paper, jot down some notes as we go through here, because it is going to be a lot of info. I don't want to overwhelm you, but let's go over the review of what we're talking about here today. First of all, we're talking about goals and expectations. How much can you reasonably expect to make with a marketing agency this year? What about 12 months from now? What about 2 years from now? What are some obstacles in there as well? And then we're talking about, how much is it going to cost you to set up? Hint, it's pretty much free to start an agency. That's why I love starting agencies. And then in section number 2, we're looking at the different types of marketing that you could potentially excel in and create services for. There's about close to a dozen different types of marketing that we'll discuss, and this can help you to identify which field you would like to create an agency in. Then in section number 3, this is one that's really important because a lot of people, this is what stops them, is how do you actually become an expert in the field of marketing? This is a big hurdle for many people. They say, well, I want to start an agency, but I don't know how to do marketing. So how am I going to do this? We'll cover that in section number 3. Then we're going to talk about some really important tools for running an agency. There's 4 or 5 different tools that are super, super helpful for running an agency, streamlining the process. And I'm going to leave links to all those tools down below in the description. If you want to just kind of skim through them and check some of them out, they will be down there. Then in section number 4, we're talking about how to identify target clients. Should you be selling your services to doctors or to lawyers or to big corporations or the ice cream shop down the street? I'm going to help you to identify target clients based on the types of services that you are offering. Then in section number 5, we're talking about building your team. So who should you hire? Who should you partner with? This is a really big hurdle, especially for Mike and I when we launched our agency years ago, was who do we hire and how do we hire them and how do we manage them? It's very, very difficult to kind of get into that. It's just a big headache that we've had, especially in the first couple of years of doing that properly. So hopefully I'm going to save you a lot of headache in that section. And then in section number 6, we're talking about getting clients and growth strategy. How do you get to $1,000 a month? And then how do you get to $10,000 a month or scale it even further than that? And we're talking about that in that section specifically on getting clients and setting things up and making sure that your contracts are set up properly and everything else in section number 6. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get into this. Let's start off with setting goals and expectations for your marketing agency. Now, first of all, why marketing? Why running an agency? What's the point of this? There's probably 1,000 different business ideas that you could potentially run with this year in 2024, or maybe you're watching this in 2025. So why an agency? The reason why I think this is the best or one of the top 3 businesses that you could potentially start this year is because there's really no cost up front to get this started. So service-based businesses are wonderful for this. If you're starting an e-commerce brand, which, we have equity in a bunch of brands, but that's a very capital intensive. Like you need a lot of money up front to go and start like selling physical products. It's expensive, but with a marketing agency, there's really no cost besides just using your brain, going out, finding customers and selling those services. And another beauty of an agency is that it's really up to you on how much you can make in this field. And I say that because I know a lot of people who do this very much part-time. And this is how kind of we started out way back in the day, many, many years ago, is pretty much part-time. I was in college. And so you could do this 10 hours a week and you can make a couple $1,000s a month, or you could take this very seriously, scale it up, do it full-time, and make tens of thousands of dollars per month. So it's really up to you on how much you make for agencies and how much time you have on your hands. Now, of course, I can't promise you that you're going to make millions of dollars from this, because truth is most people are going to watch this and not act on it and probably not going to make money because they're just, going to do other things. And that's understandable, but my hope is that some people can watch this and take it and run with it. So in terms of goals and expectations, it really is up to you on how much you can make. And in terms of how much it's going to cost you, pretty much free. There is some software that is very, very useful. And for example, if you want to set up an LLC for your company, then you're going to want to use something like Northwest. This is how we set up our LLCs. Basically just legitimizes your company. So instead of you just running around having people paying you personally, you can create a formal company, a limited liability company using Northwest. It's like $39 plus some state fees. So I'll show you just how easy it is to do this. But I would recommend everyone go and set up an LLC now. It's like the first step of creating an agency. So you just go to Northwest. I'll leave a link to them down below in the description. And then the state in which I am based is Pennsylvania. And so I'll just click on that, and then I will start my LLC. They'll help through this process of creating it. I'll enter a business name and everything else, and they'll just walk through the process there. So I'll leave a link to them down below. It's an affiliate link. It helps support the channel. And now there's one other question that you're going to have to answer for yourself here when you are starting this agency is, who are you creating this with? Are you doing this on your own? Are you building this company with a friend of yours, a business partner? You need to really think heavily about this, because my first business that I ever started, the person that I decided to work with was my friend. We went 50-50 on the business, and it didn't work out because we were very much not aligned. We were friends, and it ruined our friendship. We're not friends anymore because my vision for taking the company in a certain direction was much different than his. He didn't really want to work, and so I ended up working a lot, and he was kind of just like weighing things down and wasn't working, but still getting 50% of the profits. And so be very careful of who you decide to partner with. I always recommend starting this company on your own, and then you can always bring in someone else later on, further down the road. If you're scaling up and you really think it's a great opportunity, you can bring someone else on as like a minority equity partner in the company. But I really do recommend starting this on your own, or starting this company with someone that you absolutely trust and very much are aligned with on business. So for myself, that's my brother Mike. We do everything together because we think very similarly. We don't even, I don't think we've ever argued ever in our lives. And so because of that, we're great business partners, but just be very careful who you pick as a business partner. When in doubt, do it on your own. You can add people into the mix later. You don't want to have a headache of having like 4 different co-founders on the company. Trust me. That's for setting goals and expectations. Let's get into the next section here where we're talking about the different types of marketing that you could excel in and which field should you look at. So let me just list off a couple of different options for marketing, because what I don't want you to do is go out and try to be what we call a jack of all trades, where in your first marketing agency, you try to sell a dozen different services and you basically end up half-assing all of them and not being an expert in any one of those fields. So what you want to do is obsess over one specific field and become the best at that. Sell that as a service. And then later on down the road, you can add other services. And I'll show you how to do that later in this video. But here's some different fields that are very, very profitable in the marketing industry. Okay. So the first one that a lot of people think of is social media. So social media marketing, running accounts for businesses. This could be running their TikTok accounts, their Instagram accounts, their Facebook page, anything along those lines. This is a pretty straightforward business. It's also pretty competitive because there's a lot of people who offer to do that for businesses in your local area or any other type of companies. But it's one that's pretty straightforward, and most people can do this without a lot of training. And so that's beneficial to you, that you don't have to spend a lot of time learning how to create content. But also, like I said, there's gonna be a lot more competition with that as well. So social media marketing, basically getting clients. This could be, the local ice cream shop in your area. You have them on retainer for $500 a month, and you do a certain amount of posts for them per month, and you have packages and you run their accounts for them. I just made up that number there, 500. There's a lot of factors that go into the equation there. The other thing you could potentially do is paid ads. So paid ads is one that Mike and I really started with, and it's one that we found to be the most successful for us. Now, running paid ads for companies is something that not everyone can do, and that's why we liked it. Basically, you can charge retainer. You can also charge fees on top of, the amount of ad spend that you're running for the company. So if you're running $1 million a year in ads for the company, you can take a chunk of that ad spend for your services. Learning how to run paid ads can be a little bit of a learning curve. Luckily, we have videos on this channel showing you how to run ads on Facebook, on Instagram, on Google, on LinkedIn. Like, we have all these different ads videos that you can watch and kind of get some of the basics of how to run ads. But that's a field that is really, really interesting. Another one is search engine optimization. So you could start an entire company helping other companies with something called SEO. And this is basically helping companies to rank at the top of Google or other platforms, rank number 1 for certain terms. So like when someone goes onto Google and they type in plumber in Philadelphia, if you can help a company rank on Google number 1 for plumber in Philadelphia, literally that Google term is worth thousands of dollars per month. And so you could charge them hundreds of dollars per month at a minimum just for that service alone for helping them rank on Google. So you can make a whole company out of that. Another one is something like email marketing. There are email marketing agencies that will help companies to run their email lists. You could do this once again for local businesses in your area. In one of the sections coming up, we'll talk about like potential clients and how to target them. But running email marketing is super profitable as an agency. So you could do this for influencers as well. You could run their newsletter. There's a lot of different routes you could take with this on email marketing, but basically becoming an expert in that field of email, running drip campaigns, lead magnets. There's a lot that you could go into there with that. Another type of agency is something focused on web development. So if you understand how to build websites or design websites, everyone needs a website, including you for your own agency. And so if that's a skill that you have, this can be very profitable. Other things, public relations, right? A lot of influencers, a lot of famous people, they have PR teams. They pay them quite a bit of money for PR. We have graphic design. This is a field that I'm not very well skilled in, is graphic design, but there are design agencies. Think about any product that you've ever purchased. It was probably drafted up by a design agency. So think about like Logan Paul with Prime, right? This drink that he launched a few years ago. I'm sure a design agency made a lot of money designing the bottle, designing the logo, everything else, and all the art around it. And that was an agency that I'm sure they hired for many, many thousands of dollars, at least tens of thousands, I would assume, for that service. And then the other area of marketing that you can go into, which is probably my favorite, is going to be specifically studying an algorithm, a specific algorithm for social platforms. So for example, I know a guy who obsessed over the YouTube algorithm. He understood everything there is to know about what makes a YouTube video go viral. And then because he was the guy and he just like lived and breathed YouTube every day, 12 hours a day, studied the YouTube algorithm and figured out what makes a great video, now massive companies pay him tons of money, like tens of thousands of dollars per month for his advice on YouTube and how to make thumbnails and how to create viral videos. Even people like Mr. Beast go to this guy for advice. I shouldn't name his name, but they go to him for advice on how to create really great videos. And that's because he just focused on one specific thing. So what I want you to take away from this section here is that pick one of these, and there are other avenues as well. You can even do like physical mail marketing. Like there's a lot of different types of marketing, but pick one from this list or from some other lists that you can search on Google and find one that you really think you have some potential to understand and to be pretty decent at, and then spend all of your time obsessing over that one field, okay? And I can't tell you which one that you should do because it's going to be different for everyone, but you should know yourself personally. Like I said, design is not really my thing, so that's why we didn't really spend a lot of time trying to sell design services, but instead I focused more on running paid ads for people because that's just the way my brain works. I like numbers, I like stats, and so it was easier for me to do something like ads than it was to do something like graphic design or PR for other companies. That's a pretty important section there. Just please don't try to be a jack of all trades. Focus on one, and then you can always outsource and add services later. If let's say that you focus on becoming a website agency where you build websites for clients, and then one of your clients while you're building the site says, hey, also, can you run paid ads for me? Well, if that's not really your field, then I would suggest either selling that as a lead to another marketing agency or outsourcing, hiring someone and having them do it underneath the umbrella of your agency. But I don't want to confuse you there too much. We'll talk about that later on in the video. Okay, now let's get into the next section here, which is something that's very important, and it stops a lot of people from running an agency, which is how do you actually become an expert in the field of marketing? And I've seen so many people who want to start an agency, but they're just not sure how because they're worried about their lack of expertise in this field. So let me show you how I would become an expert in marketing. This is actually what we did. There's a certain level of what you would say fake it till you make it, but you want to be careful with that because if you go out and you start an agency and you promise the world to a customer and you say, I can do this for you, I can make this beautiful website, I can, do all these things on social media for you. If you overpromise and underdeliver, that's going to be a disaster. So be careful faking it till you make it. You can a little bit, but don't overdo it. So the way that we do this, first of all, on how to become an expert, there's really two different ways. The one, and the best one actually, is to work for a marketing agency for a while, learn the ropes, and then go out and do it on your own. That's basically like the apprentice model. A lot of people aren't going to want to do that because it takes time and you have to spend 6 months or a year at another agency learning the ropes. I understand. If you don't want to do that, the other option for becoming an expert marketer is to offer your services for free. And I know this sucks, but offer your services for free. Be very transparent and open to the businesses that you bring on as clients initially and say, look, I'm becoming an expert. I'm learning how to run ads, or I'm learning how to make websites. Can I do this for you for free? And what you're going to find is that a lot of businesses are going to be willing to take this up because, you want to learn how to do this. It's free to them. There's not really anything for them to lose. And then once you do that for a couple of customers, then you can go out and start selling that as a service. Once you have those under your belt, you've built up some experience, you feel more confident, and you can use them as referrals for future clients that you can actually start charging money for. So that's how I would become an expert. But there's one other thing here that's going to be really important if you want to brand yourself as an expert, and you need to make sure that you have a professional looking image before you even begin to reach out to anyone, as a potential client. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, make sure that you have an LLC set up. This is going to be important for billing, for sending emails that is coming from a formal company and not just like, some random person, and that they don't have to like write you a personal check. That's just kind of weird. So once you have your LLC set up, you also are going to want to make sure that you have a clean professional website up and running. You can use something like Squarespace. I think most people know Squarespace, but the reason why this is important is because when you reach out to someone, whether this is cold email or you give someone your business card, when you reach out to them, they're going to look you up. They're going to look at your website. And if you don't have a website, or if it's a pretty bad website, it's going to be hard to lock down even your first customer. So what I recommend doing is you can go down below into the description of this video. You can go to santrelmedia.com/Squarespace and you can set up a website. I would do this today, spend 30 minutes, spend an hour, just create the basics on your website. And you can see how easy it is to launch a site on Squarespace. Like, they already have templates made. It's super easy. You can fill this out, add your services on here, and get it up and running today. So I'll leave that link down below in the description. It is an affiliate link, so it helps support this channel when you go through that link and create an account there. But I really do recommend Squarespace. There are some other options like Wix and stuff, but I think Squarespace is really going to be the best option just in terms of ease of use. And it's not going to be too expensive, about $20 some per month for getting that up and running. So when you create this Squarespace site, you'll also have the option to get a Google admin account. This used to be called G Suite. And what this is it's going to give you a professional email so that instead of reaching out at like NateBobPoophead447@gmail.com or at yahoo.com, instead of reaching out like that to potential customers, it's going to be from a very clean email from your domain. So it'd be like nate@santrelmedia.com reaching out, and it looks much more professional. I know from a personal experience that when I get emails from people with Gmail accounts, I don't take them as seriously. I know that's bad to say, but it's true. People judge, and that's one of the first things that you look at is what email account it's coming from. So just spend a little bit of money, get the Squarespace site up and running so that you have some level of authority. You can build this out in an hour. I would just do this today, and then you can get that Google admin account so you can set up that clean domain. I think it might be a bit of an upsell. I'm not sure what the cost is on that for Google admin when you do it through Squarespace, but it's going to be pretty cheap and it's going to be worth it. It's kind of like an investment for your agency is to get that up and running and having that professionalism. And that's one of the biggest, most important parts of just creating agency is making sure that you have that website up and running. Now, other things you can do to build some expertise. Look, we have so many videos on this channel alone. I mean, we have hundreds of videos showing you how to do all these various different things, whether you're trying to run Facebook ads or you're trying to set up email marketing campaigns, you're trying to figure out MailChimp software. We have videos on so many of these different topics. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel and go check out those libraries of videos helping you with those topics. The internet is incredible. Like, the amount of free info that you can have on there is really, really useful. Now, I'm not a really big advocate of online courses, but I would say another route for becoming an expert is just go and spend like 10 or 20 bucks on something like Udemy. They're not sponsoring this video at all, but there are courses on Udemy that are super cheap that will teach you how to do specific things like running ads or other things like that. Okay, so you can check them out as well. I just wouldn't spend tons of money on courses. Like, you can do a lot of this for free, but Udemy is pretty cheap, so it's probably not too bad. All right, so to sum up this section, the process that I would go through to become an expert in your field is to, first of all, make sure that you look professional, create that professional site, have that professional email address, then find a way to become an expert. That's either going to be through becoming an apprentice somewhere else, which is going to take some time, or it's going to be by offering your services for free, being very transparent with the business, saying, look, I'm learning how to do this. Can I do it for you for free? No cost to the company at all. Just let me run it and see what happens. And then use that experience that you've built from doing it for free to then go and get customers that are going to pay you money. That is the process that I would go through to become an expert in this field. And then also utilizing all the free info, all the free videos that we have on this channel is going to help you quite a bit as well. Now, in the next section, I want to just share some tools that are very helpful for running your agency. So of course we have Northwest for setting up that LLC. We have Squarespace for just creating your website. But then we also have something like High Level. And so a lot of agencies use High Level for running their company. Now, the reason this is kind of like an all-in-one software. It is a little bit expensive, but regardless, I will leave a link to it below in the description that you can check out. But basically with High Level, I'll scroll down to this one section to show you the different features and products that they have. But it's sort of like this all-in-one. You're going to have a CRM, you're going to have workflow automations, email marketing, surveys, call tracking, all kinds of different things inside of High Level. So it can be worth the cost. I would say that this software is going to be useful for people who are going to take this very seriously and are willing to make a bit of an investment into this software. I will try to create a tutorial around High Level to walk you through the entire software. It can be a little bit confusing, but I would recommend signing up. You get a 14-day free trial, so it's probably worthwhile at least getting started with. And like I said, I will leave a link to that down below. Now, if you're not looking to spend some money, because it's $97 a month or $297 per month for all these different features, if you're looking to kind of go for more of a free option, then you can also use something like ClickUp. So ClickUp is a really great CRM, basically like workflow management. So you can manage all of your customers inside of here, your campaigns. It could be something as simple as doing social media for companies, or you could be doing something more complex like running ads. You can run a lot of different processes through ClickUp, and big companies use ClickUp. It's kind of similar to like Notion or Asana or Monday, but it's one that we like to use. We just started using it recently, but I know a lot of big companies that use them. So you can just see what you can do on here, time tracking, tons of different solutions here for your company, Kanban boards, everything else. And the beauty of ClickUp is that it is free. They do have a paid version as well, but I'll leave some links to that down below as well if you want to check them out and just sign up for a free account. Basically, I use this as like my second brain, an extension of my brain, because there's only so much you can remember during a day or during a week. Like, what type of content are you making for specific clients? You need to organize it somewhere. And if you're not using like Google Docs or pen and paper, you're going to want to use something like ClickUp or High Level for all of those different operations. Okay. So I wanted to just include those here in this video. The other tool that is super useful is going to be some type of platform for sending and signing documents with your customers. Okay. Don't look over this because I've seen people get burned. So use something like PandaDoc. So with PandaDoc, it's basically like a DocuSign type of setup, but it's going to be very helpful for creating and sending documents. You can also use something like legaltemplates.net. I'll leave a link to them down below in the description as well. And these are both great platforms for creating your contracts. So they have ones that you can use that are pretty much templates, and you just have to fill in a couple of the blanks there and then send them out to your customers and then have them sign those documents. You countersign those documents so that you have a formal contract. I've seen people get burned where, they will do some services, they'll do some marketing services for someone. And then the customer at the end of the, you spent 30 hours working on this, they'll say, you know what, I'm not going to pay you. Either they don't have money or they don't like the overall service, and they just say, I'm not paying you. And if you don't have a contract, you can get screwed. You can get burned on that. I've seen people get burned. So make sure you have those contracts. Use something like PandaDoc to have official contracts. It's definitely going to be something that you don't want to skip over. So that's a little tool section. I'll leave all of those resources down below in the description, and I do recommend all of them, okay? All right, so there's 3 more sections that we're gonna discuss in this video. We're gonna talk about identifying target clients, then we're talking about building your team, and then how to grow the company, growth strategy, how to get to $1,000, and then how to get to $10,000 per month on your marketing agency. Talking about identifying target clients, who do we wanna bring on as customers? So I think a lot of people view this the wrong way, and they don't follow the money as much as they should. So what I mean by this is you need to think about companies that already have really great profit margins, and these are going to be great places to start for building a company. For example, if you look at, the restaurant down the street from where you live. So the problem with food businesses, for example, is that they have really low profit margins. Now, this is generally speaking. Of course, there's restaurants that make a lot of money, but a lot of food businesses, they have tight profit margins. They might only be making, 5 or 10% margins from their food business. And so if you go and pitch them $2,000 a month for marketing, they're going to say, well, in a lot of cases, they might not even be making $2,000 a month in profit. So it's going to be difficult for them to pay you a very high amounts of money for those services. And that's why we never really targeted restaurants or food businesses. And I'm not saying that you can't make money in that. Like I have friends who have agencies that focus on restaurants and they make good money, but just the way that I think of it, I would focus more on people who are already making good money or can at least afford higher ticket services where you can charge them $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month or more for your services, and they have the budget for it. Okay, so let's talk about some potential different clients for your agency. So one of the ones that I think everyone is going to think of right away is going to be doctors, lawyers, dentists. Now, these can be very profitable. I would say the issue with these is that, a lot of people have already run services for them. And so they probably already have someone who does marketing for them. So you're going to have to basically compete with someone who's already doing marketing, but they do tend to have much higher budgets. A lawyer who might be making $100,000 a month from their practice isn't really going to, shy away from spending $2,000 a month on marketing if it's going to bring them a lot of new customers, because those customers are high value. Okay. So doctors, lawyers, dentists, those are some really great ones, but I want you to start thinking outside the box a bit for potential customers. So one that we actually got into recently, actually now more like 2021, was larger corporations, because they just have much larger budgets. And so I shouldn't name names on the exact corporations, but we've done marketing for very large corporations where the contract size can be $20,000 or $30,000 a month. And to them, if it's like, a $10 billion company, them spending $30,000 a month to hire us to run marketing for them or help in specific fields on their marketing team, it's not really much of a big issue for them, because that's like a drop in the bucket. $30,000 a month, they're making $1 billion a year. What's that to them? And so corporations, this one is a bit harder to get into. I would not recommend this right off the bat. It's just something that we kind of have graduated to, years and years after, running marketing campaigns. But start thinking more outside the box as well. Things like political candidates. So every election season, right, which is basically elections every single year, there's a lot of money that's being spent on advertising. So you can find ways to get into this and run ads for political campaigns or for even things like super PACs. They're out there hiring people to run ads, and you can be an expert in that field specifically on political campaigns. Maybe someone's running for Congress in your local district, reach out to them and see if you can help them on social media or help them to run their campaign. And this is one that not enough people reach out to on, and they're always looking for marketing experts in this field. On top of that, look, a lot of people are running e-commerce businesses. There are millions of people who have Shopify stores who are selling products online. Helping them to run ads or helping them with any other area of their business is going to be very useful, because there's a lot of those potential customers out there, people who are already running e-commerce businesses. And then probably my favorite one that I really think you should consider doing is look at a list of startups that recently announced that they raised money for their startups. You can use something like Crunchbase or PitchBook to look at all the different companies. And there are companies every day that it's hitting the news that, some company just raised a ton of money for their startup. They just raised $40 million for their Series A or their Series B funding round. And what this means to you, what this should mean, is that this company is now flush with cash. They raised a bunch of money and they're ready to spend it. And they might need some marketing people to help spend that money to grow the company. So that is one of the best ways, like one of the best hacks for getting new customers, is to just look at the list of recent fundraising rounds and reach out to them with cold email. And you can do that all day. And, you're going to get some really great customers from that. Now, this all, of course, does depend, like your target customer is going to depend on the category of marketing that you chose that we talked about earlier in this video. But those are just some different potential target clients that you can go for. Another thing to remember here is that it is helpful as well to focus on one type of client so that you can really niche down and become an expert in that field. Like, for example, if you focus specifically on marketing for lawyers and then you try to go out and run marketing for an ice cream shop, it's going to be a little bit of a different game. And so I think it's always better to stick with one specific type of client and then just find a bunch of those so that you can basically rinse and repeat and copy what has worked for those previous lawyers that you have done marketing for, and then use that to pitch it to the new lawyers that you might be trying to sign on as clients. So that's going to be the section for identifying your target clients. Now let's talk about building your team. This is something that really was difficult for Mike and I when we started our company years ago, and it's hiring people. Hiring people can be very difficult, and managing people, it's usually not very fun. And so how do you find the right employees. Who do you hire? How do you hire them? Let's talk about that here today. What I would recommend doing, first of all, is try to do this on your own for as long as possible until you get to a point where you physically cannot manage it anymore. And I say that because this is important for understanding how the business operates. Don't outsource it too quickly, because then if you try to manage someone on a project and you haven't done it yourself in the past, then it's going to be a little bit more disconnected. So try to do this on your own for as long as possible. But once you get to a point where you can't work anymore, then you want to start outsourcing. Now, what we do in our company is we have a list, a running list with different categories of potential freelance workers. So we can tap someone anytime we need someone, whether it's, we don't have the bandwidth and we need someone to build a website, or we need someone to run ads for someone. We can just go and tap someone in that, specific category. And we have probably close to 100 different freelancers on this list that we can go to whenever we need something done. So this is useful. Build up your arsenal, basically, of freelance workers who can help you on any specific projects. Now, how do you go out and find them? There's a couple of options here. You can use something like Upwork. Honestly, I love Upwork. We've hired so many people from Upwork. You can also use something like Workable, which I will leave a link to below in the description. And Workable is great for hiring people, and they have a lot of other services as well. And they have HR as well, which is going to be helpful. Or you can use something like Paired. So I've used Paired as well. This is a little bit more expensive, but this is like a headhunter where they will help find an employee for you, and they'll vet them, they'll source them, they'll handle all of it, and then give you a really great high quality employee. So this is something that I do think can be pretty great as well. And I'll leave a link to Paired below in the description. They're a little bit more expensive, but if you want to take it seriously and you are scaling, then I would check out Paired. Now, where should you hire from? I just want to talk on this briefly because we used to hire people in the United States. And the problem here is that it's really expensive. So if you want to hire someone for your agency in the United States, you're looking at $60,000 a year minimum, but probably closer to $80,000 a year or more for your marketing agency. And if it's something really specific too, if you want someone to run ads, those people are very expensive. They can be well into the six-figure range if they are American. And so we actually end up hiring people in different countries where the cost of labor is a lot cheaper, and it's kind of a win-win for both us and for the person who we're hiring, because they're making a lot more money than they would in their country that they live in. So for example, we love hiring people in Argentina or Brazil because the time zone is very similar and the language is pretty similar as well, Spanish or Portuguese and English. There's not much of a language difference there. Really, the cost is going to be at a much better price. I mean, we're talking a quarter of the price. So if you're paying someone $80,000 a year in America, you could get someone with honestly the same amount of skills and credentials for $20,000 a year. That's going to be a much higher price than they could get if they were, working at a company in their own country. So it's basically a win-win. I'm a huge advocate of hiring people outside of the United States. You can go to the Philippines, you can go to Malaysia. There's most countries around the world are going to be a lower cost of labor and just as good of quality of labor if you source them properly. So you can do that on Upwork. You can do that with Workable or with Paired. That's what I recommend doing, is sourcing international. Okay, now let's get into the final section here, which is how do you get to $1,000 a month, and then how do you get to $10,000 a month and scale this agency? As I said earlier, the thing you're going to want to do is offer your services for free. Once you have those locked down, you can go out and start pitching other companies and other businesses with your services. Now, the way that I would do this is create 3 different package deals that someone can choose from. For example, if you go to a local business in your area and you say, I can do marketing for you, it's going to be $1,000 a month, and you only give them one option, that's not really a great way to get customers. What you want to do is offer packages. So package 1, and I'm just making up these numbers and these examples here, but package 1 could be maybe $500 a month. And this is for, say, running their Instagram account or their TikTok and doing some basic things for them. Package number 2, option number 2 could be something a little bit more intricate. You're doing a lot more for them, and maybe that's at $1,500 a month. And then package 3 could be an all-in-one, $5,000 a month for all these different services. But basically my point here, and you can mess with the price points. I recommend starting lower, especially for your first few clients. It could be a couple $100 a month. Package 2 could be $600 a month. Package 3 could be $1,000 a month, right? It really depends on where you're at and the people that you're pitching. But creating these packages really does give the business more of an option of what they want to choose from. And I can go more into that, and you can feel free to ask me questions too. I'll leave my Instagram somewhere here. You can DM me if you have questions on setting up and running a marketing agency, and I'll try to respond to you. But that's what I would do for pricing and getting those initial customers. What you're going to find is that in marketing, most of your customers are going to come from from referrals. If you do a good job, people are going to ask that company, hey, who made this website for you? Or hey, who's running your ads for you? They're going to want to know if you're doing a great job. The other businesses in your area are going to take notice, especially if you are getting them results. Okay, so referrals is going to be the best way for your business for getting new customers. And the beauty of referrals is that it's not going to cost you any money to get those new referrals and to get those new customers, because they're coming in for free because you just did a really great job. That's going to be the number one option. Another option for getting customers is going to just do cold emails. This is also a great one because it's going to be free. I mean, you can go out and you can email a dozen companies per day and offer your services. If you're coming from a professional email, you kind of modify and work on your email pitch. And, the rate on that's going to be really low. But if you send out 100 emails and you get one new customer per 100 emails that you send out, it's really just a numbers game. You send out 100 emails every day and suddenly you got 7 new customers this week for your agency. So cold email is a really incredible tool for getting customers at a very, very low cost. You can also do things like run TikTok ads to get new clients, or even run Google ads, for example. Like when someone searches up marketing agency in Phoenix, you pop up at the top of Google. You paid for that, but you can get customers that way as well. But getting to your first $1,000 per month really will be 1 or 2 customers in a lot of cases for your agency. Really focus on making sure that they have the best experience, you're providing the best results, and then from there you can scale up. And you're going to find that getting to $10,000 a month is probably not as difficult as what you might think initially. Once you get this off the ground, you get to a couple thousand, you're going to realize all you have to do is just replicate what you've just done to get to that 10K mark. And so I think with most people, if you're taking this seriously and you're spending, at least 20 to 30 hours per week on running an agency, that getting to $10,000 a month within the next 12 months is definitely feasible. It's something that we did. I made this very similar video a couple of years ago on showing people how to run an agency. And I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me and told me that they used the principles that I've shared in that video and they applied it to an agency that they just started. And within a few months, they were almost at or over that $10,000 per month mark from just using these principles that I've shared in this video. If you found this video to be valuable, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate you watching this. I hope it was of some help to you. And, we have lots of resources down below in the description that you can get started with for building your website, for creating your LLC, for doing all those different things, signing up for high level. I hope this video was valuable. If it was, make sure you follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, and let's chat, let's talk. There's a lot of people who are trying to sell like expensive $5,000 or $10,000 courses on how to run an agency. You don't have to spend money to learn how to do that. We have so many free resources on this channel. So thank you for watching, and I wish everyone the best of luck.